And I have to leave early, so don't take offense when I flip out. I have a meeting to chair it at the half hour.
No problem. So Max, do you want to go ahead? She's got some slides that sort of, give the context of the projects that are happening and the school where we worked and how we disseminated warnings. So Max, maybe you can share your screen and go ahead with that.
Okay. Should I share my stuff now, or do we do an introduction with everyone first, or is it fine for me to just go ahead?
I think just go ahead.
Go ahead. So good morning to everyone. My name is Maqsooda Mahomed. Before I formally introduce myself, I just want to say this is extremely a great honor and a privilege to be having this meeting with everyone. So thank you for showing interest in my work and also for taking this time. So I actually stem from a background of hydrology. My master's and honors degree was done in hydrology. So I looked at using satellite imagery or satellite Earth observation data to sort of create drought indices for South Africa on a spatial scale. And then I moved on to my PhD, where I looked at lightning. My focus mainly stems from a background of weather and climate. So that's where my interest lies with. And I thought lightning fitted that category. And also Alistair, I think, played a very crucial role in making this project very much interesting to me and to try and rope me in. So I think he did a good job on that. So I'm just going to get straight into it. My PhD was titled The Detection and Early Warning of Lightning and Extreme Storm Events in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. So Alistair was my main supervisor, of which I had then 4 other co-supervisors. And this research was carried out at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So below are just some of the funders of my research study. So my study actually formed part of a much larger research project, of which I'm just going to elaborate on now. So my PhD study was just a component of this large project known as the uMngeni Resilience Project. In short form, we call it the URP. So this project is funded by the Adaptation Fund. So the Adaptation Fund is, I'm not sure if anyone is aware of it, but it's an international fund that was set up to help developing countries to adapt to climate change. So this fund was set up under the Kyoto Protocol of the United Nations Framework on Convention for Climate Change. So the ultimate aim of this uMngeni Resilience Project was to, or is currently, which is still continuing, is to increase the resilience of vulnerable communities in developing countries like South Africa through interventions such as early warning systems, climate smart agricultural techniques, as well as climate proofing settlements. So the national body that's actually in charge of implementing the study in South Africa is the South African National Biodiversity Institution. And the executing body is the uMngeni District Municipality, and the acronym is the uMDM. So my research study site actually falls within this district municipality as well, the uMDM. And we as the university are one of the partners on the project that works closely with this district municipality. Along with us, there's several other partners on the project, such as the South African Weather Services. So the project's focus area in terms of the study site has been the KZN, which is known as the KwaZulu-Natal province. So the reason for this was because it has been highlighted as an area of high climate change, as well as because there's several vulnerable communities that are very dependent or heavily dependent on natural resources. So the communities are faced with a multitude of vulnerabilities, and the ones that I've listed are just very major ones, of which several others follow. And these include traditional and formal building methods that are not designed to withstand the new reality of climate change, as well as the population that's very young, with a significant percentage of it being in traditional and informal housing. These communities are also faced with the triple threat of poverty, inequality, as well as unemployment. So this is the ultimate goal of URP, the project. So they're working towards creating an integrated early warning system for the municipality. So at the blue level, we have information coming in from the different partners of the project. As you can see, SOARS, which is the South African Weather Services, and we as the university is also one of these partners that are bringing information to the green level. So the green level are the different components that will be making up this multi or integrated early warning system. And in terms of the lightning component is where my research study fits in. This will thereafter feed into a central system that will be based at our municipalities' offices, of which we then aim to disseminate this information from this early warning system to the municipal officials and disaster management on the ground. And what's highlighted in the orange box is rather the dissemination methods or ways that we aim to target in terms of this integrated early warning system. Specifically on my PhD study, so there's been 4 main components of my study that I looked at. The first one was a review study that looked at outlining research into lightning over the past years, also advances that were made into lightning in terms of their lightning detection and monitoring techniques. Also, this component of the study outlined challenges and the gaps that have been found in terms of lightning detection and monitoring, of which we've developing communities and developing countries stood out the most. And thereafter, my component 2 of my study followed, which seek to remedy those gaps in component 1. So component 2 was dedicated towards documenting a community ground-based near real-time lightning warning system in South Africa. So this component of my study specifically focused on providing details or explaining the instrumentations that make up the system, the different warning alerts or categories that the system is made of, as well as explaining how is dissemination and communication from this system carried out. And component 3 looked at investigating the ability of the system by doing a comparison with our country's existing national network, which is the South African Lightning Detection Network. So this is a Vaisala-based network. The South African Lightning Detection Network accurately monitors and detects our lightning on a national scale currently. But from research and from findings of the study, what we found was that there's no dissemination to local levels. So there's no dissemination of information and warnings that are being conducted at a local scale or for local communities. And consequently, the study also looks at demonstrating the potential that this South African Lightning Detection Network has to disseminate information at a local scale. And since the South African Weather Services is also a partner on this larger project, the information or findings from this research are going to be informing the members of the South African Weather Services and to try as well as to encourage or to show findings that information of or future plans of how the South African Lightning Detection Network could improve or be used for dissemination at a local scale. Component 4 of my study looked at utilizing lightning data as a precursor for severe weather events, as well as for tornadoes in South Africa. And this study that I looked at, well, the objective algorithm, lightning jump algorithm that I targeted was the 2 sigma algorithm. And I believe this algorithm was none other than one of ACLE-NET's members, Chris Schultz's algorithms. So that was very exciting to discover. And this study looked at analyzing concurrent trends between a total lightning data set as well as a cloud to ground data set. So the overall aim of my PhD study was to reduce the vulnerability of rural communities and small-scale farmers in South Africa to lightning. These 3 broad objectives were the main objectives, of which several sub-objectives fed into these 3 broad objectives of my study. The first one looked at developing a near real-time lightning warning system to reduce the vulnerability of rural communities, also farmers, to the associated projected increases in lightning. The second objective looked at creating a multidisciplinary approach, so utilizing existing lightning system data, as well as automatic weather station data to quantify lightning and thunderstorm within the study area. And the third was assessing the use of lightning to predict severe weather as a precursor. This is just to put things into perspective. So we have South Africa on the top left. So the province KwaZulu-Natal was the province within which my study area fell. So the community is known as, the local municipality rather is the Mshwati local municipality. And the community that the study was conducted was at Swayimani. So Swayimani is at the bottom on your right. That just probably gives an idea of where exactly the instrumentation is based. So it's based or installed at a school, Swayimani High School. So you can see the buildings, those buildings are actually the school, and there's some agricultural plots that surround the school. So Swayimani also lies within an area of high climate change, also as well as located one of the 3 climate change hotspots for South Africa. And as mentioned previously, it's a vulnerable community in that it's also faced with a multitude of environmental threats. So this image actually depicts what the lightning warning system looks like. So it consists of 3 beacon lights. If you could look closely at the inside image, which I think provides a closer view. So beneath these 3 beacon lights is the siren. And to the right of it, we have a strike guard, which is with the dome facing towards the sky. So it's a Campbell scientific strike guard. Beneath that is the electric field meter. And enclosed in the box is a Campbell scientific data logger. So the system notifies using audible and visible alarm systems, as well as it automates written notification via email and SMSs. And this is done at nominated action or threat levels, which I will discuss in a short while. So by doing so, we hope that the system will be able to provide municipal officials, the disaster management agencies within this district, as well as the small-scale farmers and communities with some measurable thresholds upon which they can take action. This is just a close-up of the instrumentation that makes up the system. So we have the strike guard and the electric field meter, both by Campbell Scientific. This picture depicts the area from where the system is actually installed. So apart from following all requirements from the what's needed in terms of the installation of the instrumentation, what we also found was to try and make maximum benefit of the audible and visible alarm systems. So apart from the audible and visible alarm systems benefiting the school learners and the school itself, it's also beneficial to the nearby community. So if you just look across from the road, so those green roofs are actually the community's clinic. And then across from the community clinic is the community's taxi rank. And just below the taxi rank, we have the community hall. So this nearby community is also able to benefit from the audible and visible alarm systems. Sorry, just to mention here as well, in terms of should there be an internet failure, audible and visible alarm systems on the ground are still able to continue operating as normal. So we have near real-time and historic conditions that are accessible using a web page. So anyone is able to access this web page that has the data. So the data is easily available and anyone is welcome to download and analyze the data as well. Apart from that, we have a metal enclosed screen that has been installed within the corridors of the school. So this was done to encourage teaching and learning within the school premises and to encourage the learners to become more familiar with the system and to be educated. So what we see currently on the screen is actually information from the automatic weather station. So on site at the same school, approximately 200 meters from this lightning warning system, we have an automatic weather station that's also based at the school. And both the automatic weather station's data and the near real-time lightning warning system's data are both displayed on the screen. And for learning purposes, this was done. Very briefly, I'm just going to explain in terms of how dissemination of warnings and communication occurs with the system. So we have the lightning warning system that uses a GCM modem for communication of data every 1 minute by Campbell Scientific. This is facilitated. And this sends information to a server computer located at our university. So the server computer is the virtual machine that's responsible for downloading our data as well as publishing this data to the web page. Direct connection to the system can also be made possible, and this is done via the virtual machine, or you could use that via your desktop via the virtual machine, or another way is also to use the logger link application on your smartphone, or the LoggerNet software using a Microsoft computer. In terms of the public access, so public access of information as well as the warning status is actually made available via the web publisher. So on the web page, we have the warnings which are displayed graphically. And then in terms of emails and SMSs that are being sent out, that's done by the virtual machine to selected personnel within the 8-kilometer warn category of the system. In terms of the warnings and emails, so as previously mentioned, the SMSs and emails are actually sent out from the virtual machine. And this is done once certain thresholds are exceeded. So these thresholds are actually received from both systems. So in terms of the electric field meter, we have selected thresholds at 3 states, and then we have strike guards where lightning strikes are detected within 3 sort of distances or ranges, and that's 8 kilometers, 16 kilometers, and a 32 kilometer. So these form together 3 warn or alarm states for the system, one being the all clear, the caution, and then alarm. And we've also tried and sort of merged that with the beacon color lights. The major problem that we've encountered, or challenge that we've encountered so far with the system, was that there has been frequent communication failure, and this was as a result because of poor network signals in the community. So one could see from this image here the constant red bars. Those red bars indicated the poor network signals, and as a result, there was communication failure. However, progress had to be made, and so research was done. And what we've actually did was, with the lightning warning system, we've inserted a second SIM or second network provider to this modem, to the lightning warning system's modem, which enables a second network provider to actually be activated should there be a failure with the first. And very happily so, we've actually seen progress with that. So one could see here those red bars has significantly decreased with the second SIM being installed. So the result produced numerous key findings and results. However, I know because of time constraints and because of relevance to this meeting, I've just picked up a few to very quickly go through. So in order to evaluate the alert system, so the time the SMSs and emails were sent out, what we did was actually try to analyze with lightning events that occurred. And if you notice, or if you could look to on the left side of this figure 1, is actually a screenshot of the SMSs that are currently being sent out. So for now, it's very brief, the SMSs. It just basically states either it's all clear or it's a red alert to take necessary precautions. And this is, for now, the SMSs that the system is currently sending out is just as a trial run of the system. So we only have selected personnel on our email and SMSs list. For example, we have just like the school principal of where the instrumentation is installed. We have governing body members. We have the chief of the community, as well as a few other local teachers from the nearby schools on the list. So one of the challenges that we have going into the future is to try and find a way to better word or to correct the text in our SMSs, as well as to include perhaps an instruction for people who are receiving the SMSs to take. But what we found in terms of the evaluation was that the SMSs as well as the emails we found to correlate to the time that the strike guard as well as the electric field meter threshold were reached. And once the electric field meter had dropped or decreased below the 1000 volts per meter, we noticed that the email was in accordance to send out an all clear SMS thereafter. A systematic performance of the system was also done against the South African Lightning Detection Network, as previously mentioned. So the near real-time lightning warning system is a total lightning system. So it measures all the total lightning, whereas the South African Lightning Detection Network is a cloud-to-ground based detection network, but it also, if I correctly remember, it also measures a fraction of IC lightning. However, at the South African Weather Services, they normally store data is the GC-based data. So for this study, only cloud-to-ground data was analyzed with the total lightning warning systems data. So a time series analysis was plotted to visually interpret and compare the performance of both these systems. So despite noticing that much higher flash density values were deduced for the South African lightning detection network, what I've also noticed or observed from my findings was that both systems overall displayed similar or same characteristics in that they were minimum to no lightning during the winter period. There was lightning or greater lightning detected during the summer period. And then the most active month on record was found to be December 2018. And this was within the study period between March 2018 to March 2019. A quantification of storm detection efficiency was also carried out within the study. So this is just the results for 2 specific storms, and these were above normal storm events. What was actually observed from findings was that the community-based system was found to detect greater flashes at a closer range, and this thereafter became underestimated at a greater distance. And the reasons for this could be numerous. I believe that the near real-time lightning warning system for once is a point-based measurement, whereas the South African Lightning Detection Network has sensors spaced throughout the country, which also could have influenced their detection capability at a closer range. Also, the types of lightning that are detected by both systems could have played a role in the results that were produced. Coincidentally, also as on the 12th of November 2019, a tornado event rather occurred, and this happened so conveniently, sort of, within the 32-kilometer warn state of the system. Thankfully, didn't go any more closer to that and destroy my system, else my PhD would have been much more prolonged. But this provided me with an excellent opportunity to assess the lightning data from the system as a precursor to a future severe weather or tornado events within the study area. So this is basically just a preliminary investigation into that area. The objective algorithm, as previously mentioned, was the 2-stigma algorithm that was conducted. So the study took on a full analysis of the tornado events. So I utilized or looked at nowcasting data as well as satellite Earth observation data for the study. And from the radar scans and all of the data that I analyzed, what came to light was that this was no ordinary tornado event. In fact, it was a supercell tornado event. And that brought more interest into me continuing with try to analyze this lightning data. So the 2-stigma algorithm, how it performed for the event is shown in figure A, whereas figure B looks at the community-based system. So with the 2-stigma algorithm, a 45-minute warning threshold is used, and this 45-minute warning is based at the time the first jump is detected, lasting till 45 minutes. So the South African Lightning Detection Network was found that in terms of radar scans, the time that the tornado had touched down was sometime between 14:33 to 14:39 UTC time. But however, for the South African Lightning Detection Network, a jump only occurred, or the first jump towards that occurred at 13:18. So it had just missed the 45-minute threshold as well as missed the demise of the storm. Whereas with the community-based system, a jump was detected at 1400 hours UTC. So in this case, it would have triggered a warning nearly 33 minutes in advance of the supercell, the tornado event. So the study here actually calls on or recommends the South African Weather Services to also look towards investing in a total lightning jump tracker algorithm, because currently the South African Weather Service doesn't have that. And this could be something for them to look into the future to complement their existing observations that they use at the center for issuing their severe weather warnings. In terms of community awareness of the project, so the URP, which is the larger project, together with the University of KwaZulu-Natal, look towards hosting a workshop. So I believe that the ultimate or benefit of the system can only be achieved once the learners or once the people within the vicinity of the system are able to know what the system does and how to react. So it was very important to try and actually make that first step towards helping them understand what the system, and there was no better place to start than the school itself for the learners. And so the first lightning warning system that we hosted was on the 16th of October, 2018. And at the event or at this workshop, the targeted audience was the further education and training phase. So we looked at the grade 10 to grade 12 learners. And the reasons for this were they were the most science orientated learners, as well as because of venue size, amongst other reasons. So some of the speakers at the event were, we had the district municipalities learning exchange officers, we had their support officers, and then from a science perspective, we have Alistair Clulow as the senior agrometeorologist on site, and myself presented at the event. So a key component at the workshop looked at elaborating or describing the lightning warning system, and also to explain how one should react in terms of the visible and audible alarm systems. Also at the event, there was a brief discussion on how or the impacts of climate change. So learners were briefed on climate change as well as different lightning types. There were also discussions on lightning safety places and measures of safety that one can take during a lightning event. During this workshop also, there was the installation of lightning warning systems that were placed in and around the vicinity of the school and the lightning warning system. So we also installed some signs at the taxi rank, and this was part of the local response plans. Also at the event, to encourage interaction with the learners, we hosted weather and climate related games, and the learners were awarded prizes. And these games were sourced from the NOAA portal online. So these are just some images to show. So on the left is an example of the sign that we actually put up. And this sign was also, the information that we got from this was also accessed from the NOAA portal. And then to the right was the pamphlet that was distributed to the learners. So one could see from the table below, it was just a very brief understanding to give them of the system. So in blue, it was for them to know that you're safe. In terms of yellow or orange, is to be cautious and to be on the lookout. And when it's red, the beacon light, it's for you to seek shelter or go indoors. So apart from the game section that was held, we also did a question and answer session. So this was done just for the learners to gain clarity on any questions they may have. And we also tried to make use of this session to also try and gain information from the learners of their beliefs around lightning. So once they go home, so what do their households tell them what should be done during a lightning or a thunderstorm event? And this was just very briefly done. And these were some of the responses we've got. For example, one said to cover all mirrors. The other one says that they do not or cannot rather stand near a fence during a storm. And some of them said that they weren't allowed to even use an umbrella. These were just a few examples amongst others. These images of Alistair Clulow discussing with the learners or informing them rather on climate change, as well as speaking to them on safety measures, as well as safety areas of safety one could look into for to seek shelter during an event. Also, Alistair also demonstrated the crouch position. These are images from the interaction session. And one could see from here that the learners were very enthusiastic and they showed interest and were willing to participate in the events that took place. So the URP, which is the uMngeni Resilience Project, they also have joined hands with a local media company, and they've been working towards designing comic style graphics. And this was done to try and explain the science behind climate change and weather. And so their objective was to include minimal text as well as to use characters for increasing engagement with the learners as well as with the community. So this is an example of one of them for lightning. So this just falls part of many others in terms of climate change. So the plan here is actually to, apart from pamphlets and posters, it's also to try and disseminate this information via various media channels, and these posters will also be put up around the community. So from my research, what I discovered from the results was that a significant number of flashes were found to occur within the 8-kilometer warn category or state of the system. And this revealed that the school is at risk to the threat of lightning on several occasions. Also, what was discovered was the alert notification was found to correlate well during the onset and offset of storms. But what was also an issue here was that during a storm period, we noticed that there were repeat messages. So there was the system going in of the in terms of warning and then coming out of all clear. So this was done quite repeatedly. So this is something that we're looking towards going into the future to try and probably work on the threshold values to try and correct that. A close temporal correlation was also observed between the South African lightning detection network and this community-based system. And the South African lightning detection network was also found to, or was demonstrated to be of capability to disseminate lightning data for rural communities or communities at a local scale. And this information is going to be fed back to the South African Weather Services in terms of going to the future for them to work towards their dissemination at a local scale. In terms of the community-based system that the study looked at, it's found to be suitable for use in rural communities in South Africa. And this is from a public safety and lightning detection standpoint. And I also believe that the system proved itself beyond its capability of just detecting and monitoring data in this instance, in that from the preliminary evaluation of the study, we found that the use of the lightning data can be beneficial also for precursors to severe weather event. And I think this is something needs more research in South Africa, as well as I think it'll be of great value knowing that the number of tornado days are on the rise. Going forward with the study, I think we need to look towards using the community-based system for practical purposes within the school, and that's to try and align it with the school syllabus. I think that will be of utmost value to the learners as in terms of education and awareness. Also, there's a need for community training to further improve this system. And I think this is where Sneh will also come in with her part of the study, because she's going to carry this forward. And she's actually also looking at the community's perspective in what they think of this lightning warning system. So she's been on the ground conducting interviews and questionnaires. So she's going to be sharing more of her results and talking a bit more on that to see what the community has to say about our system. Also going forward is to try and translate these warnings into the local language, because that will be of benefit to them. So in this case, the local language is in isiZulu. Also to add action for them to take along with the alert, whether it's a red alert or an all clear with the system. And also to perhaps consider the best possible way to try and upscale this to other communities in South Africa. And I'm going to stop here. So I'm not sure whether Sneh wants to take over, or Alistair, you're going to share something.
Yeah, thanks, Max. That was great. Really appreciate that. Ron, I asked Sneh just to sort of, in a minute, maybe, just, there are no slides or anything, just, tell us about her work. She's been interacting with the community and, getting a feel for, exactly what their perception of it is. Yeah, I wondered if we should just ask her to do that quickly for us.
Sure, go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Sneh.
Greetings, everyone. I would firstly like to thank Dr. Alistair and Maqsooda for inviting me to this meeting. My study, stemming from Maqsooda's study, basically focuses on the social sciences part of the community perceptions of lightning warning system in the case study of Swaimane's warning system. The focus of my study is aligned with understanding the impacts of this warning system to the lives of the community members. The study also touches upon the importance of an integration of local and indigenous knowledge in the system. In the process of my study, I've done data collection in the area through questionnaires, focus group discussions, and interviews. The participants provided very interesting insights on the different indigenous techniques and cultural techniques that they use to help prepare themselves for lightning. When we discussed the lightning warning system that was installed at Swaimane, some of the participants demonstrated an understanding of how the robot system works, how it changes colors from blue until it turns red, and the alarm that goes off. Unfortunately, some of the participants noted that they cannot hear the alarm because they stay quite far from the school. Some of the participants were those who were able to receive SMSs. They shared how useful these were as they assisted and continue to assist them towards being able to prepare themselves and take necessary measures and precautions to ensure their safety, not only during thunderstorms and strikes, but also for some other natural hazards. As I'm still in the process of analyzing the information that I gathered, those were some of the insights that arose from the interactions I had with some of the participants and community members.
Thanks, Sneh. That was great. So Sneh is still doing her master's study, so it's not finalized. It was obviously quite challenging with all the COVID restrictions. One couldn't have as much interaction as one wanted, within the community, but she did very well collecting the data that she did. And I've been very interested to hear that people are using those warnings, and those SMSs. And the school is actually on a ridge, so it's quite exposed to lightning. And Max's study showed that there's quite a lot of lightning around, but the lights are sort of positioned in a way that vast valleys on either side can actually see the lights. Not every single house, but it actually serves quite a large area. So it's been very interesting to hear that people beyond the school have been finding it useful. So yeah, anyway, any questions?
Let me make a couple comments, and I want to go through all of our members of the council. This is very interesting. The reason I did this is because it's such a wide-ranging study and done in a developing community such as this. And this is the area where all over the world there's an immense need for this sort of activity. And Sene's work on the social aspect is a part that none of us are too well qualified to do. There is some work going on in the United States at NCAR and some other places on severe weather warnings and so on. But lightning itself has not, as far as I know, received much in the way of social science work. So we're all ears on this. I know there's so much going on here that I hardly know where to start. So let me pass it on to anyone else from the committee. John Gensenius developed those NOAA things that Sene showed, the games that you showed. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ron. Great job for both of you. Very interesting. A couple of things I was going to comment on. One, I think you're absolutely correct in trying to work with the schools. If your people are anything like ours, the older people are less likely to change. And it's good to start working with the younger people, and slowly but surely it works its way through the system that the younger people turn older and you've suddenly got people paying more attention. And I would encourage you even to work with younger children, because of the fact that one of the things that I found was that even the very young children work to protect their parents. We had the When Thunder Roars Go Indoors saying, and we kind of got that out there in the elementary schools. And then pretty soon, the little kids were telling their parents they needed to get inside because they knew the rule and they wanted their parents to be safe. So I would certainly encourage you to do that. Another area to explore is through sports. That's been very important in getting the coaches to recognize the dangers of lightning, because they kind of set the stage for the younger people too. If you have a coach that says it's not important, you don't need to get inside yet, you can wait a while, and that's what the kids are going to learn. But if the coach says we have to go inside immediately when we hear thunder or when we get your warning, then that's what the kids will learn. So a lot of opportunities there. And overall, I just think you're doing a really great job involving the media. And I don't know if it's radio or television or both, but any involvement you can get with them to help spread the word. I look at the broadcast media as some of our most important partners because they get the word out for us. Those of us on their council, we're very limited and we can try what we can do on what line, but when it comes to it, the media has a much larger outreach than any of us have. So anyhow, great job, and I'll pass it back to Ron or Chris.
I want to mention that you quoted the NOAA material. John is the NOAA material. He developed all of this.
Thank you for that. It was very useful.
Oh, you're welcome. I did a lot, but other team members did quite a bit too.
Yeah. Tyler Zhang, you want to say anything? You're looking at this from the point of view of more of a theoretical point of view, but we've brought her into the Lightning Safety Council, and she has a lot of new ideas. Part of it is that I hope Tyler can help you with the recording and sending it out to our council members that couldn't make it today.
Yeah.
Tyler? Don't hear you.
Can you hear me all right?
Okay, good. A little louder.
Can you hear me now? Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay. I just say I've been working on satellite lightning sensors and lightning data. So one thing that you could consider doing is using satellite data for climatology studies. Since I know you guys have the ground-based networks, but satellite data give you another perspective of the thunderstorm or lightning characteristics. So that could be something to consider in the future. The other thing is, I don't know if you guys know Karina Schumann. She is I don't know if she but she was a lightning researcher at the US, some university, at a university. But I think she went to South Africa, and she has some project with a professional photographer in the US. They have some high-speed video, and they do high-speed video of lightning in South Africa. So that might be a contact.
Yeah, Karina's at WITS now, and yeah, showing these high-speed videos is always very popular for public presentation, but also you can learn a lot. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay. What was her surname?
It's Karina Schumann, Schumann. I can send you the email. We see Karina at conferences all the time.
Okay.
Yes, she's actually from Brazil.
Okay. Yeah,
I will say the videos really grab people's attention, so they're really helpful.
Yeah, if we have some from South Africa, that'd be great. I forgot about that.
This is Kim. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? I think I'm off mute now.
We hear you.
Yeah, very well.
You hear me? Okay. I want to thank you for this really interesting presentation here. And I have some thoughts about other ways to share this information and introduce it to other stakeholders. John mentioned educators, but there's certainly risk management professionals and a lot of organizations that I have networked with over the past that are mostly nonprofits, but they are, risk management is definitely on their radar. So I welcome you all to continue to share information with our group, and I can in turn share it with some of my colleagues that are in other realms of the risk management realm. And I think Lightning Safety Awareness Week, we can find a way to spotlight some of your work as well. I think our group can talk about that at our upcoming call.
So tell the folks in South Africa your background just a little bit, Kim.
Oh, yes. My background is mainly in lightning protection because I was born and raised in a lightning protection company. I worked for the Lightning Protection Institute for almost 20 years, which is a nonprofit organization devoted to lightning protection in accordance with national safety standards. And I was their communications director. And I work with a lot of partner organizations out there to promote the messages about lightning safety and safety standard compliant lightning protection. And, you know, I'm a journalism major as well. So I've written a lot of blogs and articles for, you know, different trade organizations. So that's kind of where my piece is in all of this.
Kim is a very active member in our council. The National Lightning Safety Council is just the U.S. We have other organizations around the world, but all of us are in the U.S. at this point. I have some other ideas, but Chris Vigaski, you have any other comments? He's a meteorologist.
I'll kind of echo what John had said earlier, and working with the real young students, and in Oklahoma here in the United States, what they started doing after one of the big tornado events was started teaching the elementary school students about tornado safety, and that moved up to them teaching their parents and saying, okay, there's a tornado watch, it means this, there's a tornado warning, we need to seek shelter. So definitely work with those younger people and help them build up the lightning safety awareness in South Africa. And one of the things that you're working on now, and it'll be something interesting to see how you continue to do that, is when you do have going from the all clear to the red alert, then back to the all clear, and then back to the warning again. So that's one of the challenges in safety is minimizing the false alarms or minimizing the false all clears, so that you don't get into that cry wolf syndrome where people start to ignore the warnings when they come out. So it's worth seeing what caused those all clear to warning and then warning to all clear, and see how you minimize that or mitigate that.
That's been a problem. I've done study for airports using the Vizsla Lightning Network from the US, and we call those flip-flops. It goes flip-flop back and forth, and at an airport, this is an awful thing to have happen because they'll stop operations rightfully due to a storm over the airport, so the personnel go into a safe place. Then it's an all clear, and 3 minutes later it comes back on again, and after a couple of times they say, why bother? So it boils down to thresholds and settings, and it's really quite complicated. Chris and I have talked about this, and others have talked about this. So there's no easy answer to this, but it certainly needs attention, because if we have too many flip-flops, people just don't listen anymore. So yeah,
it's like if your home alarm goes off, and it's a false alarm, and it keeps going off, you eventually switch the darn thing off, and it's like, then it's not a problem anymore.
It's like the smoke alarm that goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning. They only go off at 2 o'clock. Several further thoughts here. One is that Kim and Dyla, John, and Chris are all online. We have in the United States, we have Lightning Safety Awareness Week in the last full week in June. And we do a lot of activities for that. However, there is on the 28th, is it, of June, is International Lightning Safety Day. And so we are going very big on that in the last year or so. So this year we're going to have a major activity globally with people in Bangladesh and Nepal and all over the place. And we'd like you to join in on this, and ACLENet also. So that there's going to be a pre-meeting on this sometime later in March to organize probably some seminars and all sorts of things. So International Lightning Safety Days. Unfortunately, it's a commemoration of 18 kids that were killed in a school in Africa, in Uganda, in 2011. So that's the same day as that happened. So that's become a major focus. So we need to bring you in on that one.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Ron. Sorry, Ron, can I ask a question? You know, something that we're sort of thinking about now is, you know, these, you know, the project leaders want us to, you know, expand this system, and you know, their sort of thinking is, you know, having more of these individual lightning warning systems, you know, ground-based lightning warning systems at sort of, you know, maybe another 3 or 5 schools. You know, and the WX line strike guard's very expensive, and the Campbell stuff's quite expensive. So, you know, I would look at cheaper equipment. Yeah, you know, I'm wondering whether it wouldn't be better to advise them rather to try and partner more closely with the South African Weather Services that have got a network system, you know, in place, and work on the dissemination of those warnings through that system. You know, rather, because it's something that we could keep going with, you know. You know, to install ground-based systems at another 3 schools, yeah, someone's got to maintain them. But, you know, we're eventually going to reach a threshold with that. We just can't keep going. And
right.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what I was thinking of advising them. And, you know, we actually have a company called Africa Weather who do have a system, you know, a private system in place, but they charge, you know, quite a lot of money for you to get warnings. So wealthy golf clubs and wealthy schools, they you know, pay a lot of money, and they get a system installed, some hardware at the school, and by normally GSM you know, modems, you know, those systems are activated, and they've got sirens and lights, but it's only at, you know, quite fancy schools and, you know, places like that. Yeah, you know, I guess our sort of, you know, strategy would be to try and partner with SAWS and find out, you know, what the cost is and the mechanism of disseminating information, you know, to rural areas.
Well, Chris and I both worked for Vysela, and we know the systems very well. It's the SAWS network is pretty close to the US network, which is very, very good. And as far as a national network, it's very good. I don't know where they are. Chris, do you have any idea where they are in the upgrade to the cloud lightning detection? I know they have some, but the US network.
Not for sure on that.
Yeah, because there are upgrades to the network that the US does first, and we're up to 50% of the cloud, 60% of the cloud lightning is being detected. So the advantage of that is that it's a uniform over the whole country. It's already being collected. There's no hardware to put in. Your only 2 steps. One is they agree to send you the data for free. And maybe they'll want to charge for having some servers or something at their site, at their central site. The other one is to receive it in a reliable way. And as Max said, there's communications issues. But in this case, you'd only have one line. You don't have several of them coming in. So that was certainly, when I read the thesis, that was my feeling, that was the more uniform, consistent way to do it, and reliable way. So you have to convince them to be willing to do this. And Vysela has networks in about 50 countries. And probably 2/3 of the networks in the world are run by military operations or utilities that don't want to be bothered with other people tagging onto their data. And that's unfortunate. And so you have to convince them that it's for the greater good. And that I know some of the folks at SAWS. I mean, it's just a matter of practicality and convenience for them. If you can make it as convenient as possible, maybe you can just have a feed coming out from them to somewhere like you at the university, then you distribute it, and so they only have one feed to worry about. That's how we do it in the US.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I'll look into that. Yeah, thanks. Because
one other thing I was going to mention is one of the things that I've been involved with, and originally Ron was involved with, is Ron still is involved with it, is documentation of lightning, in particular deaths, but deaths and injuries. And I don't know how much you've done with it, but we've pretty much set up an almost real-time listing of lightning fatalities in the United States. The reason for that was that they're fairly sporadic and people don't hear about them. So that, you know, you say you can get killed by lightning and then they think, well, I don't know anybody that's ever been killed by lightning, so why should I worry? So what we're trying to do is have that information out there for people, and particularly for the media, so that they can access it. For example, for certain states, for example, I'll use Florida, that gets a lot of lightning fatalities. They can say, so far this year, we've had 5 lightning fatalities. And it's a reminder to people to be safe. It is a bit of work. It's hard sometimes to find out about the fatalities. It's been particularly challenging this past year, just because of COVID. The media was carrying so many other stories that the lightning fatalities weren't getting through. But I think that's a very important way of keeping people informed that lightning is dangerous and that they do need to take actions to protect themselves. And that feeds into your warning system.
John has been very aggressive at keeping this up to date, and the council is 10 or 12 of us, and we try to beat each other to the punch to say, did you see this one that happened yesterday or today? And we are quite aggressive on that. And so there's a real-time website that John keeps within a day or so of everything that's going on, and the media love it because they have one place to go to it. And then Marianne's not on the call, but one of the things John and Marianne and I have said is that it's a terrible event when someone is killed by lightning, but it's the time to respond to the media to say, let us tell you how we can avoid this, or let's tell you what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, in addition to putting it on the web, I actually I send out an email. I've asked people if they want to be on my email list, and right now I think I have about 400 people on the email list that when there is a fatality, I send out an email with usually a link to a media story and then all the updated statistics for the United States.
I don't think this is being done in South Africa, so.
No.
May I add something?
Yeah, I've tried to get this kind of data from hospitals through friends that are specialists at hospitals, and they just say can't get it. So actually, it's through the media, and the tragic thing that we're experiencing is it's usually well not usually, but it's often more than one person that is dying. It's often a family in a rural building that is not well earthed. So there might be 3 or 5 people involved. So yeah, it always leaves me wondering, what can we do about this? You can have the best warnings in the world and everyone gets the information, but where do you run to? Yeah.
It's the start of the process. It's not the end of the process. It's the start. Max,
Yeah.
You had something?
Yes, I just wanted to add that it is something that's very poorly managed in South Africa, as Alistair also mentioned, because I also tried to access data for my study in terms of the number of lightning fatalities within that community. And I went through so many sort of support offices within the district municipality, and none of them had any information to give me. I even tried contacting Statistics South Africa, and they had none as well. And I also just wanted to add also, I think it was John who mentioned in terms of the broadcasting media for the awareness part. So the municipality also has a monthly newsletter that goes out. So as part of the project, we're hoping to put in those sort of information into this monthly newsletter that goes out. And also they have a local radio station for the community or that area. So that will also be targeted. And I also wanted at the same time say something to Kimberly as well, that in terms of the lightning, also I think Ron, you mentioned the National Lightning Awareness Week. I think that's something also South Africa doesn't really sort of make quite aware to the rest of the country, because during that week in South Africa, I don't ever see anything in terms of national lightning safety coming up. Also in one of my, I think my review paper that I published, and I said maybe South Africa needs to work towards having a National Lightning Safety Day for itself, because there's no sort of awareness that happens in that week. As a country, although there's an international week, but the country itself doesn't much participate. And I don't know from if Alistair would agree, but from my side, I don't ever see anything happening during that week in South Africa. So I think that's something that also needs a crucial work in our country.
Yeah, and I think maybe there are ways that our council can help with that. Last year was the first official launch of the International Day. Well, maybe not the launch, but the first time that our organization participated in and helped get the word out. And I think we learned a lot from last year. I think we can definitely do more. And so working together with you all, we could explore when we distribute a press release, we could explore international outlets as well as just US outlets for the news. So that's something definitely we can work on.
And I'm happy to add any or all of you onto my email distribution list, just so you can keep tabs on what we're doing.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Lightning Safety Day is June 28th, I think it is.
This year it's June 27th.
27th. It's the same. It's the date of that event in Uganda in 2011. And we'll be having a planning meeting that Marianne is organizing with Sriram Sharma in Nepal in, I think, late March is what I heard yesterday. So our council will be meeting in the next couple of weeks. We meet once a month and we'll set this up, and we certainly can connect up with you. Now, the problem is that your lighting is opposite to our cycle. So this is mostly the Northern Hemisphere cycle. So maybe you want to cooperate or coordinate it in this date, but maybe you should have something in January, February, in the middle of your season. I don't know. Makes sense.
I think that would be a lot more appropriate. Going for June, there's not going to be a lot of sympathy for it, because I mean, we literally don't have rain for months, and so the farthest thing from people's minds. So going into December would be a good time, or January, February.
Mm-hmm. And that would be a time too where we could recap our messaging for the year and include, mention global lightning safety awareness. And so, there are ways we can work with that too, with, supporting our campaign as well as helping to leverage yours.
Just 2 days ago, I sent Marianne a note and said, we need to have an International Lightning Safety Council. This is the National Lightning Safety Council. And she said, oh no, not another organization. And said, gee, we could do this and we could do that. So it didn't take long to say, well, that's a possibility. So John, all of you on the call are part of it. Dialect and do China and so on and so on. So maybe we'll see where that
sounds like
goes.
a project for you when you retire, Ron.
Yeah.
What was that word you used? So
I want to add one thing. I just came across this. It looks like the South African Weather Service did a demo project where they started using their lightning data to do airport alerts and airport warnings. So I found a PowerPoint that talks about that I'm just sharing in the chat here. So This is one way that they're using the data from the South African Lightning Detection Network to do range rings and alerts.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for that. Our main airport in South Africa does receive lightning warnings from the SALA network and through source, but it's the only So they're obviously set up to be able to do it, to send that data. I think it's the way to go going forward.
But I think, again, it might be easiest, that's for you to decide, but for them just to send you the data, and then you just develop the school warnings for all the ones that you're currently working with, so that burden is not on them, because that was in the early days, the National Lightning Detection Network was started here in Tucson at the University of Arizona, and within weeks, people were saying, "Can I get a warning? Can you set me up for this and that?" And they said, "We don't need to form a company, and we need to have a separate process for that, because it became unwieldy in a hurry."
Yeah.
Two other things. One is in Maqsooda, you sent a abstract to the Vital International Lightning Detection Conference. Now I know who you were. I remember seeing that and said, "I don't know who in the world is this?" And unfortunately, we didn't hold a meeting, but we probably will have one next March or April. We need to start on that. Chris and I will be involved in that. So that's held every 2 years in the US. Whether it'll be hybrid or in person, I don't know. The other thing is that in September of 2022, the International Conference on Lightning Protection is going to be in Cape Town.
Oh, wow.
It rotates around the world every 2 years. It was supposed to be last year in Sri Lanka. They're still holding out hope to have it in September of this year in Sri Lanka. ICLP, just look up ICLP Lightning Conference and you'll find it. But it will be in Cape Town in September of 2022. So you certainly could be an active member in that.
Cape Town, I've heard of that.
Yeah. How many hours drive is that? 3 hours?
About 18 or 19
hours.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you fly.
It's better to fly when you go to Cape Town. Yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of us are planning on going. So anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be great. Max.
We look forward to meeting everyone in person, I guess.
Yeah.
The last thing is, this is the Lightning Safety Council, which is the U.S. group. I think Marianne and I will probably want to have you do this again with the ACLE Net group. That's a totally separate group, and we'll talk about that later. So.
Okay. Yeah, John. I hope and others. It's quite difficult to fit a PhD into quite a short time. Yeah, I hope it was, what was interesting to you, like I think John said, it's such a diverse study that it's quite difficult to compress it all. And yeah, just thanks to Max for doing that. I thought you did a great job.
Great job.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sandy, we'd like to hear more about what you're doing when you get to a certain point. If you want to send us some information and have us process it. We've all looked at many of these topics before, but you have your feet are on the ground in the place that we don't go to, and I think we're very, very interested in what you're doing.
For sure.
Okay, Alistair, can you send the recording to Dyla? She's really good at this. Dyla, you want to take care of sending it out to the council members then?
Should we take that as a yes from her?
Yeah.
I'll stop the recording now, so you can say